Call your local Indian spring man. He's in the yellow pages. It's only a few pennies a day.
Enjoy the winter clearance sale at Howard. All prices drastically slashed. 50% off on ladies' carpets with the look of leather. Come on and see it. 53 Market Street is a sign of the winking owl.
WBROL, Charlestown. The place.
And the 11 o'clock movies with Richard Anthony and Nick Nolte. Hi, Rip Sheffield. And now, back to Jim Carr's Sports Talk.
Hi, Jim Carr again. Dennis, I know that some in our audience don't know the finer points of hockey. Could you tell them, for example, what is icing?
Well, icing happen when the puck come down, bang, before the other guys. Mm-hmm. Nobody there, Mm-hmm. My arm comes out, then the game stop, then start up.
Mm-hmm. I see. What is high sticking?
High sticking happen when the guy take the stick, when he go like that. You don't do that.
You don't do that?
Oh, no, never, never.
Why not?
Against the rules. You're stupid when you do that. Just some English pig with no brain
Dennis,
at all,
What is slashing?
Slashing is like that,
Mm-hmm. And there's a penalty for that?
Yeah. And for a trip also,
Oh.
like that, and for hook like this, and for spear, like that.
Mm-hmm.
All bad.
Bad.
You do that, you go to the box, 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame,
Mm-hmm.
And then you get free.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Sport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at sports.
I think that went very well.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the iceHQ Rec League Div 10 Rules and Safety Overview. Thank you all for zooming in. I do realise that running things through Zoom is always a little bit tricky and awkward at times, but it does mean that we can get this done reasonably well. So that you're all aware, first of all, this session is being recorded, and we will be putting it, the recording of this will be put up on YouTube and made available for anyone who wishes to torture themselves by rewatching it. Or alternatively, anyone who misses it out because for whatever reason they're doing other things on a Tuesday night than listening to a talk about safety and rules for ice hockey for people that haven't played it before. We've got about 16 of you so far. So you know who I am. My name's Carl Brewer, and I'm the head coach of the iceHQ Adult Development Squad, which in the Dev League is the two teams, the Tigers and the Jokers, for this season. The Tax Tigers and the Let's Jokers. They're sponsored by the CCM Pro Shop at the rink, and we're the rink team. This session is not intended to be only for members of that squad. This session is designed for everyone new to hockey playing in Div 10, or for that matter, Div 9 if you're there as well. So just by way of introduction, that's who I am. I've been doing this and running this program now for about 5 years, I think, give or take, maybe longer. With the interference by COVID, which cost us a season, but all the same, we got back and we're stronger now than ever. So session's recorded. What I'd like you all to do is please don't be shy in asking questions. I don't want to sit here and just talk at you for 2 hours, or an hour and a half, which is very easy to do, as you're probably aware, with Zoom. But yeah, please do feel free to unmute your mic and say, hey, what about this? And questions about that. And there will be times when I will stop and ask questions. And please don't be shy there as well in asking and following up and prompting. There's no wrong answers in this context. Everything is about you guys getting a chance to learn as much about how the game is structured to play it fairly and safely, more important than anything else, at the rink. So that's who I am. We'll be going through and looking at some videos as well throughout the program. We'll have examples of a few different bits and pieces and some stuff which you'll be expected to go and look up on your own. And in addition, we're not going to be talking anything at all about team tactics or plays on this particular thing. That's for your coaches, for your individual teams. This is about rules and safety, and we won't be straying off that very much. So if you do want to know the details of how to win a face-off, that's not what this is about. This is about how to do a face-off safely and those sorts of things as well. So before we get started on any of that, have we got any questions? Can you all see and hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good. Excellent. Hopefully my camera's working right. I'm not quite sure what's going on with it broadcasting at the moment, but I think it's working. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Probably need just to pin that. So yeah, there we go. So you'll see me most of the time, waving and so forth. All right. So you can all see, hopefully see the slideshow. Should be able to see iceHQ correctly with a little picture there in the front of a couple of dev squatters crashing into each other in front of the net. You can all see that, I hope. I got the date right. I had to fix that today. I realised that I left it for the last season one because the division names all changed. Anyway, here we go. Let's get started. First of all, one really important rule, and this one is it's a sportsmanship thing and also a safety rule, and that is when the referee blows a whistle during a game, the game stops. Right? You don't continue to play the puck. You don't take a shot on the net. That's a big no-no. You leave the puck behind. Don't be tempted to help the referees by getting the puck for them. Let them do their jobs. They will prefer that you just let them do it. So if the whistle blows, just stop whatever you're doing. That's pretty important. You'll get penalised if you don't, and sent to the box for 2 minutes, which we don't want to do. But it's mainly because it's a safety thing. Like for example, as soon as the whistle blows, everyone switches off. If you then take a shot on the goalie and the goalie's turned around and you hit them in the back, goalies have all this amazing protective gear on. I'm sure you've all seen it. You know, armor on the front. On the back, goalies don't have very much armor at all. And if they get hit on the back, it's quite dangerous. So that's probably the main reason for it. But don't go hacking away at the puck. Don't try and, like in a lot of sports, after the whistle blows, you continue to contest a little bit to say, you know, I've still got the ball. You know, I'm the dominant player here or whatever. Not in hockey. Just stop straight away. The other one, and this is a big one, and it's a source of a lot of misunderstandings early on, and indeed through the league as we go through it. The iceHQ Rec League is non-checking, but that doesn't mean it's non-contact. What do you think that means? Anyone want to venture a thought? If anyone's using the chat, I probably won't see that very much. But I've got a window open on it now, so okay, I can see a couple of you popping on that. But yeah, please unmute your mics and say, what do you think that means?
Is it no deliberate hitting?
Yeah, you're not allowed to deliberately separate your opponent from the puck. But that doesn't mean you can't contest the puck and have collisions. They're going to happen. Anyone here play field hockey?
Yeah, I used to.
You know how in field hockey you can't even put your body in the way? Ice hockey you can. in all grades of ice hockey you can. So it's quite different from that. So if you're making the transition from field hockey, where everything was very much, you obviously had to have protective gear and a hockey stick can do a bit of damage, but field hockey is so far separate from ice hockey that it's like in terms of that interpretation of contact rules. So there will be fair push and shove as well. But I want to show you just a couple of quick videos of what it means for collisions and how we also need to be careful about them. Because as you can imagine, on ice, we're moving pretty quickly. Most of you in Div 10 probably don't have very good brakes, at a guess. We haven't seen most of you yet, but your brakes won't be great. And your awareness of what's going on around you won't be terribly good as well, just because you're starting you to be overwhelmed. So I want to show you, first of all, what can happen when it goes wrong. So I'm just going to, I'll be flicking backwards and forwards between a share and otherwise, so we'll get a chance to see how bad I am with Zoom, which is pretty bad. Shouldn't be, because I should know it by now. But anyway, where are we? It's the video. No, that's not the one. That's not, this is the one. Okay, so we've got the video now, and you can see, if you look up on the top right hand of this page, we're just going to run this one through. This is two development teams early on last season. See that little innocuous looking little collision just up here? It's legal. There was no penalty awarded for that. Two players are contesting the puck. So it's perfectly legitimate. I'll just roll it back so you can see it again. Go back a few frames. So just watch up that top corner and see what happens. Right. Looks pretty harmless, doesn't it? The Southern Lights player who came off second best in that collision ended up with a concussion. And we know a lot more about concussion nowadays than we did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, when you got a concussion, you just shook it off and kept going because, that was the culture of the sports you played. But now we know a lot more about concussion. If you do get a concussion, you're supposed to take 21 days off any sport and then get assessed for whether or not you're okay. This is the current guidelines for concussion in sport from the Australian Sports Commission. And we're pretty serious about it. So you've got to be careful. So although that was a legitimate contest for the puck, you are allowed to skate towards the puck and play it. You want to be careful, especially if you're someone big. Little people need to watch where they're going. Big people need to really watch where they're going because, I'm 100 kilos. When I run into people, I tend to win physics just purely because I'm big. And you've got to be mindful that you've got to really be careful about what you do with avoiding contact, avoiding collisions in open ice. I'll show you a couple more examples of what is and isn't fair contact, just so you can get a bit of an idea of that as well, because there is quite a lot of things that are inappropriate. So this is another example of inappropriate contact. This is a check rather than playing the puck. So if you watch this one, I've kind of zoomed in on it. The player in the green there, that's Ash Elliott. You might get to meet her one day. She body checked. If you watch what happened there, we'll just scroll back to around a bit to this part of the play and move through it slowly. All right. At this point, whoops, why is that using the annotator? Stop annotator, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. This one's stupid. No, that's me. All right, let's watch it again, and this time get rid of that annotator. So at that point, you can see where the puck is. All right, so the puck's sitting here. If Ash was to go in with her stick and play that puck, and then they collided, okay, it's a little bit reckless or careless, but it's not against the rules. Instead, watch what Ash does. All right, she playing the puck?
Nope.
That's a check. And that's pretty clear in that instance. We've used this video for a few years and always get a bit of a laugh out of it because in that instance, of course, no one was hurt, so that's okay. But she got 2 minutes for body checking in that instance because she wasn't playing the puck. If you play the puck within reason, you can do almost anything. But if you're not playing the puck, if you're playing the body first as a priority, then you're going to get penalised. And not only are you going to get penalised, but it's also dangerous. That said, though, there is fair push and shove. I'm sure you've all watched a bit of hockey on telly. Some of you will no doubt be NHL fans, and other ones are a bit kind of new to the whole thing. If you ever watched contests in front of the goal mouth, they can get quite physical, and that's because that's what's known as a fair battle for position. I want to be here, you want to be here. We're going to battle for it until something comes off. Now we need to be mindful of that. We'll have a little bit of a look at a video of that as well. There we go. Zoom keeps taking over the whole screen, which is not helpful. I don't know why it does it. Just keeps leaping over and taking control of everything. I've been using Zoom now for years and I still get it wrong. Anyway, here we go. So if you look in the goal mouth, so down on the bottom screen, let's have a look at what happens. See that little push? That's perfectly legal. That was me doing the push and I didn't get penalised for that. So that's how I know it's legal. You're allowed to contest that position in front of the goal and you're allowed to push your opponent around a little bit. It has to be measured. If you overdo it and you knock your opponent over, you're going to get penalised. But you can battle for that position and that's perfectly okay. As long as you keep your hands down low, you're not cross-checking someone in the back with your stick or anything like that, or tripping them up or anything, you can push them with your hands and you can get in their way and you can lift their stick and you can be annoying. And you shouldn't, if that happens to you, you shouldn't say, hey, hang on, you're not allowed to touch me. It's like, well, you are in that particular context of the game. So don't get upset about it. Just deal with it because that's part of the game. We often find that new players in that instance, even some quite experienced players, there'll be that battle in the goal mouth and they'll be pushed and they'll say, you can't do that. And they'll turn around and retaliate with a stick slash or something like that. It's like, yeah, now you're the one going to the box. All right, so that's a legitimate push. There's some other examples of it here. one more that I'll just show you where. I'll zoom, don't do this to me. Please plays nicely for me today. It would be nice if you did. There we go. Right. So there's a bit of congregation around the goal mouth. It's all perfectly legitimate at the moment. There's nothing wrong with that. So in particular, what we want to look at is this little skirmish, I guess, that happens here and how that pans out. So we'll just loop back on that a second and see what we can see. Okay. Two players legitimately battling for position. They both want to be in the same spot, and they're allowed to, as long as you don't overdo it. And that's always a little bit of a judgment call. But anyone who's in their second season, who's played D in particular, will know that we teach you, be fierce, own that space. That's your spot. Don't let the opposition push you around, and vice versa. So expect that to have some level of contact. Not at all like field hockey. If you did that in field hockey, I'm pretty sure you get a holiday. But in our context in ice hockey, then that is contested space and you're allowed to contest it. And the rules are specifically written to say that that space in front of the goal, the rules about interference and contact are relaxed. You can't do that in other parts of the rink. If you start battling for that position somewhere else, you're going to get penalised for it. But in that position in front of the goal where it is legitimately contested space, you are allowed to have a little bit of push and shove. We've got any questions about that?
I have a quick question. I mean, don't know if it will be actually a quick question, but it's a question. You said before you're 100 kilos. I'm like less than half of you. And I'm choosing to play in a mixed league, and I kind of know what I've signed up for here, and I know that I'm, a very small person and probably not one of the fastest skaters that's going to be on my team. But also, the big dudes, they're joining a mixed league too. And I'm just kind of wondering if I'm going to still get the same opportunities to work really hard and become a really good player and know that I can be competitive in those sort of little plays.
The thing to be aware of when you're with every sport, you're going to have issues if you're smaller or bigger in terms of different things that you've got as attributes. So a big person typically isn't as agile. A small person can really move around a bit faster. Again, it's just physics at play. So your goal for you as a smaller, lighter player will be to work on your speed and agility. And you don't want to battle with someone in the slot because they're going to push you around. They're just going to be too big. But you can move. And they can't catch you because they're big and slow. It's kind of the nature of it. Not many big people are fast. Not many small people are slow. So you work on that aspect of your game and you absolutely will prosper. It's only really in that kind of push and shove situation where you have those issues. And you won't be playing full contact hockey, so it doesn't matter for you anyway in that regard. But you will have enormous opportunities. Some of the best hockey players in the world aren't particularly big. It's a skill game, really it is. Something else that we teach, and an emphasis of what we're going through tonight, and all of the coaches through all of the programs of beginners will also emphasize this as well, is look after your opponents and your teammates. Like if you are a bigger person, be careful when you're around the little ones. You don't want to go steamrolling them. And those sorts of safe aspects. And we'll talk about that through the rest of this presentation. So your question's a really good one. It's also quite a deep one, which you knew. But yeah, you'll be looked after and you'll get plenty of opportunities. This is beginner league. Everyone's going to have, we're all learning and developing. We've got plenty of chances. Some of the best hockey players, in particular in the women's league, are quite small.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you for answering that. It's good to just hear, yes, the idea is that we'll all look after each other in the game.
Always in beginner grade, absolutely not. As you move up through the grades, it does get rougher. But certainly in beginner grade, it's all about looking after each other and protecting each other. We're all here to learn and develop and have fun. Okay. So you can see that little battle. And we can scroll through this one just a little bit more on the video and see what happens. That was Ash again, by the way. She's the one that delivered the check earlier. And no, there's no foul with that. That's perfectly legit. Boom, get out of here. No. Now, Ash at that point was probably 55 or so kilos. and the person that she ran into was probably about 90 or 100. She got lower and lifted him up with her shoulder. And was more stable on her feet too. So, yeah, but it's just a little bit of a battle for position.
Carl, can I just ask another question about contact? Yeah, I have been pushed over several times, and a couple of times I went flying. I got a lump under my helmet, and I thought my helmet wasn't fitting right. It was because I'd been shoved over. But yeah, look, I did complain to the rink because I thought it was a bit over the top, and I think they have tightened up because I think the referees were quite young too, because it felt like there was a change. Because when I first started in winter last year, they seemed to often penalise the heavier players, even if Little Women actually backed into them. The bloke would get better, and I was actually being like shoved, and I would go flying, and there wouldn't be a penalty. But yeah, I did complain, and I hope it's a bit more reasonable. I mean, I could have perhaps learnt to be a bit more stable, but just the same.
Yeah.
On one occasion, I think the defender was a little taken aback because he was probably twice my weight, and I did go flying, and I think he went, "Ooh," but he didn't get a penalty. Yeah.
You're addressing this. There's two issues here that you're talking about, and they're both very real. And the first one is that the referees need to make sure that they enforce those safety standards. And referees is always, they've got different levels of experience. You're always going to get newer referees and older referees. The rink makes a really genuine effort, and we have some input on this as well as coaches of the programs, to try and make sure that there's at least one more experienced referee on the ice at all times. So sometimes you'll have trainee referees, beginners who've only done like a couple of dozen or 50 or so games or something, so they're still quite inexperienced. And then you'll have referees who are used to refereeing at a high level, where the context around contact is different. And so again, that little video I showed you where I gave that other guy a push, that was in what's now the equivalent of Div 5, which is quite a bit rougher. But if I did that to someone in beginner grade, I would expect to get penalised for it, because I'd probably push you over. And likewise, from the point of view of what we teach players through our program, and it can take a few games to sink in, and sometimes people get, with the excitement of competition, you're always going to get a bit of an adrenaline rush. People will sometimes overdo it a bit. We're always trying to wind it back a bit, say, hey, just chill, it's just a game of hockey. Trying to make sure that everyone measures the amount of force that they use when they do have push and shoves or collisions, and to be careful. As that's the real underlying thing for all of us is we don't want anyone to get hurt. Ice hockey is a dangerous game, and we'll talk about that later. There's a lot to talk about with regards to the hazards of the rink and the things that can go wrong. And we'll be looking at that a lot tonight. And this kind of feels a little bit like it's a really negative session. There's like, there's this that's dangerous, and this that's dangerous, and this is dangerous, and don't do this, and don't do this, and don't do this. But actually, these are relatively minor things. And on the whole, it's great fun and pretty safe. But there's a risk associated with it, which obviously, Jane, you're aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as coaches in the program, we all try very hard to just get everyone to concentrate on looking after each other. That's a big part of certainly our philosophy in the Dev Squad teams. A big part of our program is respect each other and look after each other. I can't say that it won't happen, because I don't have a remote control. I can't control every player. Great if I could. But yeah, we all do our best to make sure that everyone's as protected as possible.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
But yeah, the overarching thing is it's all about safety and trying to look after each other and make sure that it's a fun and enjoyable experience for everyone. We're all paying to be there, and I had to break the news, but none of you are going to play in the NHL. It's just not going to happen. All right, so we'll get back to the slides. It's the one. Where were we? Okay. Safety, not the NHL, no fights. So yeah, those of you that have watched NHL games or Pro League games, or even AWIHL and AIHL games, you will see that there are scuffles and fights and punch-ups and those sorts of things occasionally, not in our division, and generally not in the rec league at all. And the penalties for if there are any escalations are very severe. Expect to be suspended for a significant period of time if you do get involved in any sort of a dust-up. And certainly I know from the point of view of my program, we have a zero tolerance to it. Anyone who starts throwing punches around gets kicked off our squad. They don't get a second chance. It's like, that's it, you're out. So we have absolutely zero tolerance to that. It's not part of our culture. And I'm confident that the Griffins and the Southern Lights have a similar policy. So we're probably tougher than the league is in terms of how we manage people who can't control themselves. We just have zero tolerance for it. If you're going to be like that, sorry, go somewhere else. Go play boxing or something or other. It's not us. All right. So some off-ice stuff, a little bit of kind of logistics and so forth. First of all, Rec League, what is it? Anyone know? Used to be called Beer League. Any guesses? No. It's just
It's a
recreational.
fun league.
Yeah. We're not affiliated with the International Ice Hockey Federation. We're not affiliated with Ice Hockey Victoria. We are our own separate league with our own separate rules, bylaws, and so forth. We adopt the rules from the International Ice Hockey Federation and use them as like the starting point, but we've got our own local variations on that as well. But we're not affiliated with any of the international sporting organisations. We're not part of WADA or ASADA, so we're not drug tested. You could argue that maybe we should be. There's been a few players who've had a skinful and jumped on to try and play, but there's now rules about that as well. You're not allowed to play if you're under the influence of alcohol. Or coach, Mia, right? You hear me? Don't come along and be drunk on the bench. We've had drunk coaches before, which is entertaining for lack of a better expression. So yeah. But that said, there is drinks provided at the end of each game. Apart from the last game of the night, I think that doesn't happen because the bar at that stage is closed, but there's a bar at the rink. Everyone gets a free drink, be it a beer or a soft drink or a water after most of your games. Go up to the bar, you sign off your name on a iPad, which has the roster of the players who are playing in that particular team, and you get a free drink. The rink's trying to encourage you to stay around afterwards and socialise. What we don't want you doing is going out in the car park and partying on because we've got sensitive neighbours. We don't want that to happen. Plus, people invariably make a mess and leave cans lying around, and it just gets really crappy. We don't like that. Also, if you do go up to the bar to get your drink and there's no one there, wait. Do not help yourself. Okay? Do not be tempted to say, oh, well, I'm supposed to get a free drink, but no one's here. I'm going to help myself to a free drink. Don't do that. The bar is monitored with video cameras, and we've had a couple of players who've done that in the past, and their entire team got collective punishment. I know it's a bad thing, but their entire team got forbidden from having drinks for the rest of the season. So yeah, don't help yourself to drinks from the bar. Wait till you're actually looked after. But it's part of your fees. It's all part of it. So it's free, but you've paid for it. Whoops, wrong slide. What are we doing? Okay, so yeah, please do not use the car park as an extension to the bar. Don't go out the car park and party on. I know it's really tempting to, and there's been a bit of a culture of that in the past, but the reason we do that is because we do have sensitive neighbours. In the last 5 years, the recreational league at iceHQ has grown enormously. We've now got over 1,000 registered players, and we play every single night up until midnight. So you can imagine if you're the neighbours, what are you thinking? I get a bit cranky about it. And it didn't used to be like that. It's not like if you move next to an airport and complain about the airplanes. You knew about that. The rink has significantly increased its volume and traffic in the last couple of years. So all the neighbours have a legitimate beef if we are disruptful and noisy and messy and all that sort of stuff. So we're on our best behaviour. We need to have a good relationship with our neighbours and a good relationship with our council. So we play nicely and we don't party on in the car park. If you're playing the last game of the night, which I don't think Div 10 does this season, I think all our games are on Saturday afternoons at reasonably civilized times. So it's not like you've got an 11 o'clock game or anything horrible like that. We do want you to not drive down the side road where all the residents are, but drive down beside the park instead. So it's called Blake Street and drive down that one. And don't toot your horn and don't do burnouts or whatever it is you want to do. Just chill. We'll be nice to our neighbours. All right, more about contact. You can actually read the rule about this. The contact rule that we use it's called the women's rule because in international ice hockey level, at the elite level, you've got men's rules and women's rules, and they're different. And the rules about contact for men's hockey at elite level is full checking, and the women's rules at the moment are still full checking is not permitted. You can make all sorts of arguments about whether or not that's right or wrong. My personal opinion is at elite level, if the girls want to play full contact, they should be allowed to. You're allowed to do boxing and all those other crazy things. Why can't you, play full contact hockey? You can play full country, everything else. But at the moment, the International Ice Hockey Federation says no. We play under the girls' rules. And this is an excerpt. You can just see there that slide has a bit of it, but I'm not expecting you to read that. You can look it up yourselves later if you want to see what it is. But it just kind of goes through what the penalties are for contact. In Beginners League, so our league, and a few of you have alluded to this already, we're much stricter on contact. You'll see I don't know if any of you have been watching the Women's Professional League now in North America. It's pretty rigorous. They're borderline full contact at the moment, and the Swedish Women's Hockey League is going full contact for the girls, which is great. Oh, Taylor asks a question about getting hold of the recording. It will be put up on YouTube, and I'll post that out, and all the coaches will have a link to it as well, so you'll get access to the first bit. So yeah, that's the contact rules for it. You can read through that yourself. I don't want to read it to you because there are better uses of all of our time. But that's the idea behind it. And as you go up through the grades, it will get a bit rougher. But again, at our game and our perspective, what we're trying to do is make sure that it's as little contact as possible but still have legitimate battle for the puck. We're not trying to take all of it out of the game because you can't, because it alters the game too much. But you're not supposed to run into each other. You're not supposed to knock each other over. We're trying to look after each other and make sure that we all leave and go to work, school, whatever it is we're doing the next day without injuries and concussions and those sorts of things. There's enough dangerous things on the ice without us being lunatics as well. All right. Interference. This is an interesting one. You're not allowed to impede your opponent's progress towards the puck or towards the puck carrier or get away with them blocking. I'm sure everyone's watched Australian rules football, where they shepherd each other, or you've watched American Gridiron, where they shepherd each other, they get in the way of blockers and stuff like that. That's not allowed in hockey. You're not allowed to impede your opponent's progress towards the puck. It can be sometimes a bit of a line call because we're all trying to do it without getting caught. Like I'm trying to get in front of someone else to slow them down getting to my puck carrier, but I can't be obvious about it. It's a subtlety of the game, and you won't be doing that very much in Beginners League, but you're certainly not allowed to deliberately impede the progress of your opponent. So if one of your teammates is skating with the puck and you see someone coming up to take the puck off them, you can't skate up to that person and push them out of the way or get in their way. Just being mindful of that. So that's really what that's about. We're not worrying about late hits or anything because you're not doing hits in the first place. So that doesn't matter. Right. Equipment. This is a weird one. If you break a stick, you have to drop it straight away. Seems odd, doesn't it?
Yeah. Question, Carl.
Sure.
I've noticed in some NHL games occasionally if a player just loses their stick, in certain situations they can pick it up and in others they can't.
You can pick your own stick up.
I felt like a few times I've seen like players like have to defend around the goal with no stick and their stick's just lying somewhere else on the ice.
Yeah. Usually in that instance it'll be broken. Not always. Like they might have dropped it, but as a general rule, hang on to your stick.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Right. You're not allowed to throw it away for starters. Like if you think, I'm trying to block it, someone's taking a shot on the goal, I'll throw my stick at it. That's a no-no. You've got to hold your stick. But yeah, it's a general rule. If the stick's lying on the ice, it's generally because it's been broken and they've dropped it, and you drop the stick and you can continue to play without a stick. Not a lot you can do, but you can continue to play without a stick. I'll show you an example here. This is in a most of you probably wouldn't have been aware, but there was a professional league that ran as a competitor to the iceHQ a couple of years ago called the Pacific, and this is an excerpt from that. I'll just show you what happens when the stick gets broken. Not a bad example of it.
Support his team after being in the penalty box for that first goal against. Brilnick now protecting the puck, still with it on the half wall, drops it for McMahon. A nice little slapper there, probably fanned on it a bit. Allows.
Okay, so In that instance, I don't know if you saw it quickly enough. I'll rewind it again so you can see it. In the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, Michael McMahon, who's a bit of a legend of Australian ice hockey, plays for the Ice, used to play for the Mustangs, and was playing for the Pacific here, and I think he was captain. Anyway, regardless, he's down here in bottom left. Watch what happens.
Brilnick now protecting the puck, still with it on the half wall, drops it for McMahon. A nice little slap.
Right. What happens? Broke his stick. So what did you do?
Dropped it.
Yeah, you just dropped it. Just drop it on the ground. The referees will sort it out, or the next officer will get sorted out, but just drop your stick on the ground. Don't skate around with a broken stick. There's a really good reason for it. Broken stick is a very, very dangerous thing. Sticks are dangerous enough as it is, but modern sticks in particular, they're all carbon fiber composites. They get jagged ends on them. They're sharp, and they're very, very dangerous. Break a stick, just drop it on the ice. You can go and pick up another one. Most players, certainly those of us who have been playing for a long time, we usually have quite an accumulation of sticks. And I would never go to a game without at least two. So I always have a spare, but you might not necessarily have a spare stick, but it's not a bad idea to do so. But you can skate past the bench and pick up another stick, or you can skate past the bench and skate to the bench and get a change. So watch what Michael McMahon does, or watch that video again and just see what happens. So he's just broken his stick, yeah? Watch this.
Over there, probably fanned on it.
That's a bit out of shot.
Allows Shalom to get it. So he chips that up.
But that's him again. He just picked up a stick from someone else, held one out from the bench. He said, "Here, grab mine." So he skated past, grabbed it, and got straight back into the play. Pretty good. You guys that, yeah. But not yet, anyway. But the other thing he could have done was got a change. All right, so drop a stick, break a stick, drop it. Don't continue to play with a broken stick. There's other stuff, helmets in particular. Every now and then we get people showing up using lacrosse helmets. It's got to be an ice hockey helmet. And it's got to have at least a visor. We recommend most strongly that in particular in the beginner grades that you wear full face helmet. Full face, either a cage or what's called a goldfish bowl, which is like a visor top half with a plastic vented sort of bottom half, either that or a full cage. And there's a couple of really good reasons for that. The first one is most of you aren't very stick aware. And people's sticks will flick up. Pucks will flick up, but it's more likely that sticks will flick up. And you can wear a stick in the face and it'll take your teeth out. And it'll break jaws and break noses and stuff like that. So although it's legal in rec league to just wear a visor, for women and men, you can wear in international ice hockey rules, women are required to wear full face helmets all the time. We say, hang on, boys and girls, if you want to be stupid, you can wear a visor regardless of your gender. So you can wear, as a girl, if you want to, you can wear a visor instead of a full face cage, but we don't recommend it. If you are going to do that, get a mouth guard as a minimum and make sure you're wearing your mouth guard properly. The photo that I'll just flick back to, this is, I mean, if you watch the NHL, you've probably seen T-Chuck doing this as well. But there's Hayden Dawes. Look at how he's wearing his mouth guard. Is that going to do anything? Bloody idiot. If you're gonna have a mouth guard, wear the damn thing. Yeah, it's like this is just a choke hazard. But anyway, that's Dawsey. He's a special character. Love him dearly, but yeah, he doesn't wear his mouth guard properly. He skates around with it like that all the time. You may as well not bother. Other things that you're required to do now, as of about a year ago, you're required to have a neck guard, and that's compulsory for all hockey sessions on the ice. Games, training sessions. If you go to stick and pucks, you're required to have a neck guard and a stick and puck. You don't have to wear anything else at a stick and puck except a helmet and a neck guard. You can go without anything else at all. You can just wear tracky dacks and whatever. Don't, but you can. But you're required to wear a neck guard. There's two different types of them. There's the ones which are just like a collar, and they've got a little Velcro tab on the back, and they kind of sit obviously around your neck. And there's also ones that are integrated into shirts that you can get now as well. And I can tell you from personal experience, the ones that are integrated in the shirts, they're worth paying for, because you'll forget that they're there because they're comfortable and you don't even notice them. There are some which have Velcro at the back, which those of you who have long hair, you'll find that it gets tangled up in your hair and is really annoying. You can also get some, and I think there's 2 brands at the moment that do it. There's one called Acane or AY. I don't know. My wife Jane, she's got them, and I've got one as well. I haven't worn it yet. Which actually has like a yoga pant closure on the back of it, and it kind of stretches open and shut, so it doesn't have Velcro, so your hair doesn't get tangled up in it, which is a big win. People with long hair much appreciate that, but it is a requirement that you have a neck guard. If your neck guard falls off, you're required to leave the ice. The reason for it seems pretty obvious. It's a bit of a struck by lightning thing. There was a big reaction a couple of years to a fatality in the UK where someone actually got slashed across the throat with a skate and they bled to death. So we want to be careful. That's why we're wearing them. The odds of that are excruciatingly low, but still. So that pretty much every league around the world now has a policy of you must wear neck guards at all times. So you have to have it. Your equipment seems pretty obvious, but it needs to be looked after properly. It needs to be secure. You don't want bits falling off. You don't want your gloves falling apart. You don't want your helmet with the strap not doing up. Just little obvious things like that. Some of you will have bought secondhand equipment. Look after it and be careful with it. And if it needs any attendance or anything done to it, let us know before the game rather than during the game, so we can try and see what we can sort out and get it working for you. Coaches will help. The team managers will help. You'll find that the rink community is very supportive with regards to equipment. If you've got a piece of gear that isn't, for whatever reason, isn't suitable, you'll usually be able to find someone who'll be able to help you out with, at the very least, being able to borrow something, or get you going with, with giving you stuff if they've got secondhand stuff lying around, or there's a pro shop at the rink as well, which has excellent gear. But yeah, it's got to be done up. It's got to be maintained properly, and with that, our training sessions too with the dev squad, and I'm sure the Lights and the Griffins do the same. We'll give you a lot of help with getting your gear established and how to wear it properly. There's been a number of people who've thought elbow guards were knee pads and vice versa. It's an easy mistake to make, I think, maybe. Certainly it's happened. So yeah, something else, and it's a bit of a tricky one. I'll show you one more photo. This is a fairly famous NHL player doing it all wrong. I guess that's what makes things entertaining. Who's that guy? Anyone know?
That's Bedard.
Bedard. See how he's wearing his helmet? That had better be during a warm-up. Because there's a couple of things going wrong. The first one is the strap's not done up. And the second thing is the visor isn't done over his nose. You're actually required, if you're going to wear a visor, it has to cover your nose as well as your eyes. Not sort of sitting up above his eyes. That visor is doing absolutely nothing. You may as well not have it. So if you are going to wear a visor, it must come down to the point of your nose. It mustn't be kind of sliding up like some sort of a motorcycle helmet where you can flick the visor up, that sort of thing. That's a bit of a no-no as well. Alrighty, there we go. 40 minutes. Ooh, golly. Sorry it's taking so long. There's lots here to go through. There we go. Okay, all right, back to this one. Oh, wait, was he? Your mouth guard back in, you fool. Alrighty, miscellaneous rules. High sticking tripping. Okay, a high stick is where your stick comes up and whacks your opponent in the helmet. How do you reckon you prevent that from happening?
Keep your stick on the ground.
Yeah, keep your stick on the ice. Seems obvious, doesn't it? It's one of those like, duh. But it happens. And there's a couple of reasons for why it can happen. Sometimes you might be trying to stick check someone and you put your stick forward and flick it up because you're trying to lift their stick and you miss. And that can accidentally happen sometimes. But other times there's a classic, and there's a thing called pitchforking. A lot of people, through misguided coaches, get taught to always have 2 hands on the stick. Who's heard that? Always have 2 hands on the stick. Yes, Bedard hasn't been particularly effective. He's got a very bad plus minus. Yeah, has anyone here been taught to have 2 hands on the stick at all times?
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I was too, unless we were skating backwards.
It's like, no. When you do that, if I'm skating along with 2 hands on the stick and I start skating forwards, I'm going to be doing this with my hands. When I do that, like this, the blade is going up high behind me and I could clock someone with it. I don't really want that to happen. I'll show you, again, video examples of this. So we've got some examples of it here. I'll show you pitchforking for starters. There's a really good example of absolutely how not to do it. So I'm going to show you this little video. Oops, once the thing decides to pause, don't go away on me. Come on, stop. Come back. It's only a 7-second video. I won't take them. It takes more time to prompt it than get it going. So here we go. Going to watch there, number 20 with in the white. Watch the skating technique and watch what happens with the stick. All right. If 26 was a little bit closer, what would happen to 26?
Get smacked in the face.
Smacked in the face. Keep your stick on the ice. In that instance, you're much better off with one hand on the stick. One of the reasons it gets taught is because kids, in particular, when they start, they often give them those wooden sticks, which are really heavy, and they're not physically strong enough to actually carry it with one hand. But modern hockey sticks are so much lighter, and this is just as a general tip to everyone: get the lightest stick you can afford. It will change your life. Because it means you can skate with one hand in front of you and it's faster. I'm going to be quicker with just one hand on the stick and moving forward. So there are times when I want two hands on the stick, absolutely. But when I'm moving, most of the time I don't. I want to have one hand on the stick and keep the blade on the ice. Don't whack it around the air. Something else to be mindful of: we're not playing lacrosse. Don't try and pull the puck out of the sky with your stick. That's dangerous too. Keep your sticks down low as best you possibly can. Safety stuff. Try not to clock each other in the sky and all that sort of stuff. There's some other interesting things to be aware of. I'll show you. I think we've got another video here of a high stick. This is the one. Actually, no, I'll show you there's a high sticking issue. This happened in a game a couple of years ago in, again, Beginners League. This was back when it was called C2 or something or other. It kept changing its name. I want you to pay attention to what happens here. Number 22 for the big deals in the purple, and number green one here, that's a woman by the name of Lisa Mack who came through our program. Just have a look at what happens there. We'll watch it again. See that? What happened with number 22 stick? I'll go back a couple of frames. See that? Right. That's a high stick. Lisa Mack caught it in the face. Did the guy mean to do it? No. He was just a bit careless. He's pitchforking because he was taught two hands on the stick all the time. It's just started skating, twisted his body because he was a bit out of balance. Stick came up, whacked Lisa Mack in the face. She was wearing a full face cage, so it gave her more of a shock than anything else. But it was like, whoa, bang, right? Keep sticks down. In that particular instance, no harm was done. Although she got a bit cranky about it and then retaliated and swung back at him. Don't do that either. Oh no. Keep your sticks on the ice, kids. Anyway, so that's an example of high sticking and how it can be unintentional and lead to an escalation. So Lisa got high stick. She immediately retaliated, whacked the guy back with the stick, which just doubles it up. And yeah, don't be naughty. Be careful after each other. And if someone does do it in Div 10, they didn't mean it. It's an accident. Don't go silly about it. We've also got some unique rules in our division about diving for the puck. I'm going to show you something. This is only in Div 9 and Div 10, so the beginners divisions. Let's have a look at this video and see what happens. How dangerous is that?
He copped a skate to the head, really.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but what's the other issue? Because you're right. There's an issue of being of wearing a skate, which is obviously a very, very dangerous thing. But what's the other dangerous thing?
Taking out other players.
Yeah. And in particular, in this particular instance, you're right, but keep going.
The goalie.
Sorry?
The goalie.
Yeah, partially. What's just past the goalie?
Well, smashing into the net.
Yeah, and what's past the net?
The
The net
boards.
will move.
The boards.
The boards. Will the boards move?
Nope.
No. What about your neck?
Yes.
Broken neck. Right? Bad day. Really bad day. Career-ending move. Okay, so we this was happening a little bit a couple of seasons ago, and the coaches got together and said, "Hey, look, in our grades, can we just ban it altogether? Because the players don't have the skill to get up and avoid themselves running into the boards. And even at elite level, you can make a pretty good argument that it should just be banned from the sport altogether. But it won't be at high level, at least not yet. But it is incredibly dangerous. So we've now got a rule in certainly in beginner leagues, which is you must not leave your feet deliberately to play the puck. It doesn't mean you can drop down on one knee to block a shot if you really want to. I prefer that you stay on your feet, but again, that's a coaching decision more than anything else. But yeah, don't go diving for the puck, reaching out, stretching, or anything like that, trying to dive and get it with your stick in that way. Just stay on your feet.
So a question.
Yep.
Can you play the puck from the ground?
Yes.
If you are to go down?
Yep, absolutely. We just don't want you to deliberately leave your feet. And again, it'd be a bit of a line call. Sometimes you can fall over, and you will. First few games of Div 10 is like, oh, look at them all fall over. Yay! Get up quickly. So it's going to happen. But yeah, you can continue to play when you're on the ground. You're just not allowed to deliberately go to ground.
Okay, easy.
We say that now. But yeah, stay on your feet. Gudis said it particularly well to one of his teammates. He said, just stay on your feet all the time. Don't go diving for the puck. It's almost always the wrong choice. And certainly in our grade, we want you on your feet at all times. We don't want you falling over. There's another couple of interesting rules, and there's too many players on the ice. Seems obvious, but you're allowed 5 players plus the goalie, or 6 players, unless you're on a penalty kill, but we'll worry about that later. So yeah, if you've got 6 players on the ice, where this gets interesting is in the process of changing, because if you haven't played hockey before, there's one really unique thing about it. I mean, apart from that it's on ice and you've got a stick and you're moving quickly and all that sort of stuff. One of the things that's quite unique in its gameplay is how long your shifts last for. A shift is how long you actually spend on the ice between changes. If you've played basketball or you've played like a lot of other, water polo is probably the only one that even gets close. You're on the field for quite a long period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the whole game, depending on what you're doing. In hockey, a shift generally shouldn't last for longer than about 45 seconds to a minute, which isn't very long. And we spend our first half a season just trying to get you guys to change properly because we want quick changes. In that context, you'll be going in and out of the gates and coming in and off the ice a lot. And the potential to muck that up and end up with too many players on the ice is quite high. Different coaches have different strategies, and if you're coming through my program, you'll work out how we do it. But the other teams will do it differently, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. But the key is if you're in the process of leaving the ice and your replacement player has jumped on, that player who's jumped on can play the puck, you must not play it. So say, for example, I'm skating over to the bench and the puck arrives at my feet just as I'm in the process of changing. If I play the puck when it's down at my feet, we're going to get penalised for too many players on the ice. If I ignore the puck and just get my change done, and I make it obvious that I'm ignoring the puck and just getting off the ice, even if it hits me, it's not too many players. Most of the referees understand that rule properly. Sometimes they don't. But if you're in the process of getting off the ice and you just ignore the puck and just get off the ice, even if it hits you, we shouldn't be penalised for too many players on the ice. Shouldn't. Other ones, bad sportsmanship, seems pretty obvious. We don't like, if you score a goal, don't skate past the other team's bench going, well, look at me, I'm great, you guys suck. That's called being a bad sport, and you get penalised for it, and rightly so. You can celebrate with your teammates, but don't rub your opponent's nose in it. There are some other sportsmanship style rules that we have. Generally, once you get past a 5-goal lead in a game, you stop celebrating goals, because it's 5 goals is a fairly dominant lead, and like for the first up to 5 goals, you can celebrate your goals and that sort of stuff. But once the lead gets out to 5 goals or more, it's a bit of an unwritten rule that at that point you chill out, because you're obviously significantly better than the other team, and at that point you shouldn't really be celebrating goals, because you're going to score them anyway. So that's just a kind of a bit of a being a good sport sort of thing about it as well. And there are some other just general good sports sort of things. What sort of things do you think they might be?
Shaking hands.
Sorry?
Shaking hands.
Yeah, after the game, absolutely. Yep. Whistle blows, hostilities are over. But that's the same in every sport, but yes. Just generally looking after each other. If you knock your opponent over accidentally, don't say, ha, and laugh at them. Help them up if they need some help. It's only a game. We're not trying to hurt each other. And just generally looking after each other and being respectful. That's really what it's all about. I've had a question about teaching you how to jump over the benches without getting hurt. Absolutely, yes. That's a big part of our first training session. We'll be working on that, absolutely, because our first training session is pretty intense. The Dev Squad training session is on the 4th, I think, of May. Mia will know probably more accurately than I will.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be going through all that sort of stuff and changes. So we'll be doing lots of that. So it will be taken care of. I'm sure the other teams will be doing the same. Okay, so they're the big ones from that. But just generally being good sports. You're looking after each other and not being arrogant dickheads. It's part of it. It also means if you have an accidental collision or someone gets hurt or whatever, is help them and try and avoid it in the first place. We're not trying to hurt anyone. Statics rules. All right, offside. Here we go. This is where it gets interesting. Offside is a rule that's designed to prevent you playing like football. In football, you have like a full forward, and everyone tries to kick it to the full forward, who then tries to kick a goal. That's kind of old school, but that's still kind of how it works. In hockey, you're required to carry the puck over the zone. Where it gets interesting is that the way to think about it is the rink's divided up into 3 sections. You've got blue lines that kind of split the rink up into thirds. So you've got an attacking third, a neutral zone, and a defensive third of the rink. And I've got an image here somewhere, which I'll put in the wrong place, but I'll just pull it up so that we can see it. What did I do with it? Here, rink picture. Where did I put you? That's the one. Where did share go? Keeps moving around. All right. Here's a rink. Pretty obvious. The attacking zone, if we're playing from bottom to the top, then the top zone here is the offensive zone. This part here is the neutral zone, and this part here is your defensive zone. You can only be offside if you are in the offensive zone. You can never be offside if you're in the neutral zone or the defensive zone. It just doesn't apply. The rule is that you're not allowed to go into the offensive zone before the puck. You can think about it like this. Puck, then you. Puck has to go in before you go in. Now, where it gets particularly interesting is if the puck comes out of the zone for any reason, all of your attacking players have to leave that offensive zone before any of them can go back in. And that's where we get some confusion. And you're going to get caught offside for the first half of the season. It's going to happen. Offside again. Yep, we'll learn. But the idea is if the puck comes out of the zone, all of you have to come out before anyone can go back in. Try and remember that. You're not going to, but try to. We'll work on it throughout the season and we'll get better at it. Because it's different to any other sport. I don't think any other sport has an offside rule that works in that way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the gist of it. So yeah, the puck comes out. The referee will yell out offside. You'll probably find some coach, usually me, barking out at the top of his voice, offside, and you're like, what? What do you mean offside? Oh, that's me. Yep, out you go before anyone can come back in. You don't have to go all the way out. All you need to do, if you're offside, say for example, the puck's popped out of here and you're in here, you can just skate up and then turn and then go back in again once the puck goes in. Or skate along the blue line. You don't have to, I'm offside, I need to go all the way back to here. You don't have to do that. You do have to go to the blue line. Have I missed anything so far, Mia?
So far, so good.
Haven't killed anyone? All good. Okay. More about this. You're never offside in your defensive zone. You're never offside in the neutral zone. You're only offside in the attacking zone. We've kind of already gone through that. There's an offside and icing handout which we'll put up on the beginners on the Dev Squad Facebook group, which anyone can join. So you're welcome to go through that and have a look. If you're from Griffins or Lights, you can look at that as well. I'll put it there this evening after this session, so you've got access to it, probably in the same post. But I'll link through the YouTube video of this, so if you want to watch that again, you can as well. And it's just a little bit more of a guide to it. Icing, another interesting one. These rules. Got an awesome offside going. Actually, I've got some videos. Do you want to see some videos of offside before we move on? Because I've got some if you want to see it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, no worries.
Yes, please.
It's going to run long, but it always does this one because there's so much to go through. All right, so I'll show you. There's one on a power play, which is really obvious. So there's only 4 players on the ice here at the moment, which makes it a little bit clearer. So you can see in this video, the blue team is attacking, the green team is defending on that bottom screen. Right. So see how the pucks come out of the zone? What that means, all of the blue players have to leave the area before any of them can go back in. Does it happen? See them all racing back to try and get back on side? Guy got to get out of here. And the other guy, 66, is just waiting because he can't bring the puck in until the other players are on. You actually can, but you can't skate it in. All right, and then back in they go again. All right, so that hopefully makes that a little bit clearer. That player 66, if he wanted to, he could dump the puck in though. Just all the players have to come out before any of them come back in again. So you can shove the puck back into the zone before your players come on side, but they can't play it. They've got to come out. That's a pretty clear example of that one. And we've got another one here, which will hopefully show another example of offside. These are just little short videos. So this time, blue are defending, so green are attacking. So green have got 2 players deep in the attacking zone. Blue players are back in trying to break the puck out of their area. Now you might not be able to see it very clearly, but the puck has just come out there and ended up here. So it's come past that blue line, yeah? This green player, is he offside?
Yep.
Okay, so both of those green players have to come out before any of them go back in. Let's see what actually happens. Oh, come on. He just stands there. Like, get over! And everyone's yelling out, offside, offside, offside. He's like, what? Eventually the penny drops and he starts, oh yeah, I forgot. It happens, you're under pressure, it's stress. We're going to make a lot of interesting decisions as we start off. So that's a good example of a player not getting back on side. There's a few other examples of that too. And there's one really obscure one. This is quite interesting. It's a bit of an edge case on the rules, but it's worthwhile to see it. Those of you who like to interpret rules well and kind of really, really see what happens. This is an interesting one. This is Boston against New York a couple of seasons ago. All right, so see how the pucks come out of the zone. So Boston were attacking, and they've now got 2 players who are offside. See that? New York has the puck, and it's outside the zone. So those 2 Boston players, they have to come back on side. Let's see what happens. Because this is an interesting part of the rule. What's just happened? Are those two Boston players offside?
Yes.
No, they're not.
Oh.
You know why? You'd normally be right. But who put the puck into the zone?
Yeah, the opposition did.
Yeah. So what's happened here is the Rangers player, this one, again, it's an edge case. You're not going to see this very often. This guy here, watch what happens. Right? Puts it back into the zone, which wipes the offside. Now all of a sudden, Boston have got 3-on-1. Whoops. So here's the thing for you. If you're a defending player, don't put the puck back into your defensive zone, because then you wipe the offside. And those players are all back on side again straight away. You always want to be playing the puck up the ice. Don't play it back. Certainly not in beginner grade. Yeah. Just like, oh my God, what did you just do? I don't think it up in the goal, but certainly. Yes.
So Carl, if the defence touch the puck, then when you would have been offside, then you're no longer offside.
No, it's only if they play it back into the zone. Not touching it, but if a defensive player, if you're defending and the puck's come out of the zone, and you as that defensive player play it back into the zone, then it wipes the offside.
Right.
It's an edge case. You're unlikely to see it, and half the time the referees will get it wrong too, because they don't see it very often either. But it's just an interesting little edge case. You can say, oh, why did that happen? Isn't that offside? Well, yes, but. So don't overthink it, but but it is there certainly as one of the things. That's probably all we need to look at with regards offside. Icing is another one that we need to really get our heads around. It's not a bad thing to ice the puck. I know that sounds kind of weird, but what icing is if you play the puck from your end of the rink, so your side of the midline, and I'll pull a rink diagram up again so we can see it. Okay, so say we're playing bottom to top, and I've got the puck here, and I shoot the puck all the way down, and it crosses the goal line at the other end. So I've played it from my half of the red line across the middle, and it's gone down and crossed the red line here, and it's down there. That's called icing. I've just iced the puck. Most of the time, you will then be brought back for what's known as a defensive zone face-off. So the game will stop, the referee will blow the whistle, and you will be brought back to have a face-off back here. If you do that. If someone touches the puck, once it's crossed that red line, it's no longer icing. If the goalie touches the puck, it's no longer icing. If it's a shot on the net and the goalie has to make a save, it's not icing. But if it crosses the goal line, it is. You can wipe off icing. You can actually beat the puck to it. We don't really encourage it in Div 10 most of the time, because it ends up in being a foot race to get to the far end of the rink, and your brakes aren't very good, and we run risk of running headfirst into the boards and breaking bones, which is a bad day. But you can win the race to the puck if you're the team that has iced the puck. But we're not going to dwell on that terribly much now. It's more of a thing for you to talk about with your coaches. Also, if you're on a penalty kill, so if one of your players is sitting in the naughty box for 2 minutes or longer, there's no icing on that play. You can just dump the puck down the other end as much as you like, and there's no recourse for that. It won't be brought back for a defensive face-off. The other team has to go and get it and bring it back. So that's just something to be mindful of as well. But in general play, when you're 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 or 3-on-3, if you happen to be playing 3-on-3 in like a shootout in a final, if you play the puck from your half of the rink and it crosses the goal line at the other end and no one touches it, it's icing, and you'll be brought back for a defensive zone face-off. It's not a disaster. It's just one of those things. If you've got a decent enough shot that you can ice the puck, that's probably a good thing. Most sort of beginners struggle to get the puck the length of the ice. In our league, if you're wondering if you've ever watched other leagues and seen icing and had it explained to you in that context, usually most leagues will enforce a rule where you're not allowed to get a change. Normally, whenever there's a stoppage, you can change players, and typically every team will, as well as changing on the fly, because you can change while the game's going. The game doesn't have to stop. But most teams will get a change on an icing on any stoppage. If you're the defending team that's responsible for the icing in most leagues, you're not allowed to get a change. So you're tired, which is a bit of a sting in the tail. In iceHQ Rec League, we don't enforce that rule. You can get a change if you've iced the puck. So if you're wondering why it's different in our league, it's just because we can't be bothered enforcing it. The referees have too much things to watch out for, and they're not very good at enforcing it. And the league just decided that it was too hard, and so they just said, no, we won't worry about it for us. But if you play things like pro leagues or IHV leagues or any of those, pretty much every other league will enforce that you can't get a change on an icing. All right, I don't know that I've got too many examples of video of that one. Yeah, I don't. I've just got some. Again, I'll put some more handouts on it that you can get from the Facebook group if you want to have a look at them. There's a handout icing, and there'll be a video as well, and I'll stick that up there as well so you can see it. Alrighty, now the fun stuff. We have a code of conduct in the dev squad, which we expect all of our players to sign, and I know the Lights do, and I think the Griffins do as well. So if you're from the Lights or the Griffins, you can confirm that for me. But we have a code of conduct, which is really simple. Don't escalate, no aggro. It's really that simple. If someone whacks you with a stick, don't whack them back. If someone knocks you over, don't knock them over back. If someone does something stupid, don't do something stupid back in retaliation. Just don't do it. Let us sort it out. Most of the time, it'll be an accident anyway. 99.9% guarantee that if someone whacks you with a stick, they didn't mean to do it. Someone knocks you over, they didn't mean to do it. They might be a bit careless or might just be lacking in skill because you're beginners. Those sorts of skill things are going to happen. But yeah, don't retaliate or anything like that. In particular, what do you think some of the most dangerous forms of retaliation might be?
Slashing.
Yep, slashing's a big one. That stick's damn dangerous. You can break bones with that. What's even more dangerous than slashing?
Sucker punching.
No.
Is it subbing when you sort of
No.
disappear down and the person goes flying over you?
It's not the most dangerous thing. They're dangerous, but they're not the most dangerous. What's the most dangerous thing? How do people get killed on ice rinks?
Kicking.
Yeah. Skate blades. Do not kick anyone ever. 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 Yeah? I cannot say that strictly enough. Anyone who kicks should, in my mind, should get a lifetime ban from the game because it's so dangerous. I mean, I can whack someone with a stick and not hurt them, and we'll sometimes do that in scrimmages and stuff as a bit of fun. You know, you whack your teammates on the shin pads or something like that. So they, hey, whack. You know, oh, what? But if you kick someone, skate blades are sharp and dangerous. They will open up arteries. You can bleed to death. Do not kick. Right, fun stuff. Sorry, but it's so important. I can't emphasize that enough. Don't push people with your feet. Skate blades are horribly dangerous. I'm going to show you some interesting videos now, which may make you laugh and may also at the same time illustrate a few points because they are important. This is a favorite one of mine. This is one for you, Mia. Mia's assistant coach for our program this season, and she might appreciate this particular video. I don't know if you've seen it before or not. It's certainly one of my favorites. Where to go? Come on, Zoom, don't do it. There. I have to restart the video. Zoom has been difficult. Sometimes it catches things and other times it doesn't, and there's no rhyme or reason. Here we go.
This will be something to watch. There's 2 more games between these teams this season. We'll come back to know it now. Look at this. Boudreaux comes over. Taking the house down. As the stanchion and the pane of glass between the benches doesn't look very sturdy. And this will be something.
Anyway, coaches have to behave themselves too. It's very important.
I'll try.
Absolutely. There's a couple from this is an NHL one. No, this is a good one here. This is something that happened through a misunderstanding on the ice, and it's easy to happen. And this was again, this is a big no-no. This is a retaliation, which just shouldn't happen. So I'm going to watch this video and see what happens here. Right, see that? Watch what happens here. I'll run the video again. Guy trips over. It was an accident. It was not an intentional trip. It was a trip, but it wasn't intentional. And even if it was intentional, watch what happens afterwards. All right. The player there in question got their first and last warning. Do not ever do that again. It's one of those things that we have very little tolerance for. It's just totally unnecessary. And it was, and if you watch it closely, it wasn't even the same player that he slashed. Oh. It happens, but we want to make sure that it doesn't. And as much as possible, we want to make sure that there's no retaliation. That's a big no-no. And after that, we incidented. Everyone's got to sign our code of conduct and agree not to do it, and so forth. There's another one here where something escalated when it shouldn't have. And we very much talk in our pre-game talks about avoiding escalation. If something goes wrong, don't make it worse. We'll see what happens here. All right. So what happened is two players skating for the puck, 14 and 91. 91 in the yellow and 14 in the whites. 94, sorry. They get tangled up. It happens. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a legitimate play. A field hockey player will be like, oh, you can't put your body in the way, but ice hockey you can. So they get tangled up, they fall over, and watch what happens now. So they've gotten tangled. No one really meant for that to happen. That's just, two players who can't skate particularly well got tangled up with each other. Watch what happens with the retaliation. There's a cross-check in the back. That's a no-no. That should be a suspension. I don't know that it was, but it certainly should be. So we expect all of our players to sign our code of conduct and basically behave themselves and not escalate anything. We don't want to see situations. Well, that goes for 4 minutes. It's too long. It's a brawl in one of the NHL games where everyone got sent off. So another really big one, and we've kind of alluded to this all the way through the session, is we're talking a lot about safety and looking after each other. So there are some key things that we need to be super, super careful of when we are playing this game for what you would think be pretty obvious reasons, but in the heat of the moment, it's a little bit harder to tell. So I'm going to go back to our slideshow briefly. There's our code of conduct. You don't have to read through that. You'll get a copy of it anyway. Penalties, before we go on to that, if you do get penalised for something, it's usually 2 minutes. Some penalties you don't have much say in. For example, if you have a thing like if you trip someone up accidentally or otherwise, and it'll usually be an accident, you're going to do 2 for tripping, whether or not you meant it. You skate over to the penalty box, you wait, the scorer will open the gate for you when your penalty period time has expired. Don't get back on beforehand. You can come back onto the ice if there's a gap between, like if it's a gap between the periods, and then skate back across again. You don't have to go from the penalty box straight back to your bench. When the penalty is over, you can integrate yourself straight back into the game. A big bugbear of mine, if you've ever listened to me, I do a lot of the commentary at the ice rink, and I call people out on this all the time. Quite often what happens is a player will jump on after a penalty, ignore the game, and skate straight across to their bench for a change. There's 2 things that they've done there. The first thing is they've just made the penalty 10 seconds longer. I don't know why you're doing that. And secondly, they've ignored the game. Quite often, that player will jump on, and the puck's right there at their feet. They can play it, but they choose not to. They ignore it. Or there's an opportunity for a breakaway, or there's a whole host of things that could happen that they're just oblivious of because they're, I've got to get over and get off the ice. Well, no, you don't. You just sat 2 minutes in the box. You're fresh. So you don't have to, you don't have to get a change. So certainly players in our program, we don't teach that at all. We teach get back on the ice and integrate back into the game straight away. Don't argue with a referee. In no sport ever has arguing with a referee's ever done anything except to make things worse. So they make a call. They're probably right. Sometimes they get it wrong. Most of the time they get it right. I know I've certainly have received some penalties that I thought I shouldn't have been pinged for, and I've gone back afterwards and watched the video and actually, yeah, it was me. So the referees usually have a better view of what they're doing, what they're doing than we do. Our memories are fallible. We will distort what we thought we did. It's just the way our brains work. So if a referee gives you 2 minutes, just shut up and take it. Don't argue, or you'll get 10 minutes. Don't go whacking your stick on the ice and having a tantrum. That just makes it worse. And again, you'll get 10 minutes or a game misconduct or something like that. So just skate over, sit in the box, chill out, get your 2 minutes, feel shame, and then get back on the ice and keep playing. Okay, makes sense? Gone a long while. Been 80 minutes so far. We're not too much longer to go, I think. We're mostly close. In terms of the rules, if you want to read through them, I strongly suggest that you do. You can get the ice hockey rule book these days as a PDF. You can just download it from the National Ice Hockey Federation. If you just do a Google search for ice hockey rule book, you'll find it. Don't use the NHL one. It's different. But we are mostly using International Ice Hockey Federation rules. And as I mentioned earlier, we're using the non-checking or the girls rule for that. Some of our equipment rules are a little bit different, but on the whole, they're basically the same. And you can go through and read that if you like. The iceHQ League does have a tribunal, and incidents get reviewed. All our games are video recorded. Their referees are wired for sound, so all of their everything that they hear is recorded. So if there's an incident that happens in a game, there's a pathway to get that investigated. That pathway goes through your team managers. So if something happens during the game that you're concerned about, talk to your team coach or team manager about it, and they will then escalate it to the league. And then things can potentially happen to whoever was responsible for what happened. If it happened behind the play and someone missed it. So there is an escalation process, and it works pretty well. Anyone who does get suspended gets listed on Hockey Site, which is where all of the hockey statistics go for that as well. So you can see if someone's been suspended and what for. And you can also watch the videos. But again, if something has happened during a game that you're concerned about, talk to your team coach about it. So if you're Dev Scotter, talk to me about it, or Mia. If you're from the Lights or the Griffins, talk to your team managers. Don't go direct to the rink because they won't listen to you. They wanted to go through your team manager because the team manager will kind of vet it and make sure that it's actually a legitimate thing to have a look at. In addition, every penalty gets looked at by the league automatically. It's only for things that happen behind the play. So if a referee, say for example, you get tripped up and the referee awards a penalty for 2 minutes to the other player, that doesn't need to be escalated because the rink will already look at it automatically. But if you get tripped up behind the play and nothing happens, then that's the point where it may well get looked at. But you'll need to escalate that because otherwise it won't show up on their radar. You get suspended, anything up to life if you do something really, really bad. But generally it's through, you're going to get, everyone who gets involved in the game at some point or other is probably going to get penalised for something. It's just the nature of it. Like if you're involved in playing in front of the net, sooner or later you're going to accidentally trip someone up. It just happens. So don't get upset about it. Just take your 2 minutes and be done with it. Don't get upset. Try not to get upset. Righty, safety. Hardest thing on the ice is the ice. Seems obvious, really. We're soft and squishy, and we've got bits in us that break. The ice doesn't break. The boards don't break. So you've got to be really careful. We've already spoken about not using your feet, but there's some other stuff, and also not using your stick as a weapon. But there's some big things. We already also have spoken briefly about the diving for the puck and so forth. You're not allowed to intentionally knock someone over. It will happen sometimes by accident. We do our best not to have it. Now, I'm going to show you some incidents here which reinforce a really, really important aspect of the game that we need to make sure that all of us through Beginners League and every league, but in particular in Beginners League, are very, very conscious of. I'm going to show you some videos here. They involve injuries, just so that you know. So if you're a little bit squeamish, but you don't actually see blood, but there's a couple of them here where it did get a bit unpleasant. There's one here. I'll show you the Naomi one. Video is an old one, so it's fairly low res. Right. You'll see what happened there.
It was a broken leg.
Yep. Compound fracture, out for a year. Surgery, pins, plates, the whole works. Right. Why did it happen?
They're going too hard at the boards.
Yeah. The main thing is the person there who fell over, who was knocked over and broke a leg, that's Naomi Campbell. She played for quite a few seasons. She did come back and play again afterwards, but it took about a year. You can see, obviously not a very good skater. If you watch the very first bit, like this first bit, watch her turn around. So she's standing here, right? Watch what happens when she starts to move. Right. She's a good skater. She's a beginner, right? Clearly not particularly stable on her feet. The guy racing up behind her isn't actually really doing anything wrong. Except at that point, she's starting to slow down. She hasn't got very good brakes. She's starting to slow down, and she's in that really, really dangerous part of the rink from between about half a meter to about 4 meters away from the boards, which is where it's really dangerous. The other guy comes up behind her. He's just trying to contest the puck. He's not really doing anything wrong, except as she's slowing down, he runs into the back of her, and they have a leg-to-leg collision that knocks her feet out from underneath her, and she goes feet first into the boards and breaks a leg. What should that guy have done differently?
Eased up.
Yeah, back off. Give her room. It's not that important. It's just a game of hockey. Don't kill someone. Right? It seems obvious, but when you're racing into the corner and you're trying to get to the puck first, and like there's obviously all the adrenaline and the heat of competition and that sort of stuff, and everyone yelling out, go, 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 and all that, one of the reasons we play the game is because you want that intensity. At the same time, you've got to be careful, because if that sort of thing happens, then people can get seriously hurt, and we don't. That's just no. So the idea is, in that situation, if you're chasing someone towards the boards and you can see they're a bit shaky, give them room. Just back off a smidge. It's not that important. I've got there's so many examples of that happening. Another good one here. Here's one from the NHL. Similar sort of situation, except obviously NHL players they skate a bit better than we do.
Get the replays here. So Lekin at 62. Put it on the far left side, battle for the puck. Okay. He just got unlucky. He got stuck with his own speed in between a rock and a hard place and just couldn't control himself going into the boards there. That's really not a dirty play by Alexiak. But at full speed, just that little touch. And he got caught.
So is there a lesson to learn from that?
Yeah, slow down.
Yeah, give them room. Just back off. It's not that important. Even in the NHL, at the top level of the sport, these guys have been paid millions of dollars a year. You don't want to break someone's neck, and you can. So be careful. The rink has got enough dangers and risks of its own without us making it worse because we get a bit of white line fever. We've got to be careful. Here's another one here. I'll show you this one. Is this the one? I think it is. Yeah, here's another example. I'm not trying to rub everyone's nose in it, but this is a really important thing. So that's why I put a lot of emphasis on it. So what's our situation here? We've got a puck. It's going off into this corner. We've got a defensive player racing back to get it and a forward going in to chase and put some pressure on them. Fairly routine sort of a situation. Right. That time we got lucky, but it shouldn't have happened. The player chasing should have backed off and given that other player some room. It's just not that important. Right. So we need to, and we'll talk about this in all our pre-game talks certainly with our squad. We're all about, back off, give your opponents time. And I'm sure the Lights and the Griffins will do the same. We can't emphasize that enough. You've got to look after everyone on the ice in that context. Don't run into someone from behind. If they're a bit shaky on their feet, it's pretty obvious. You can usually see when someone isn't great on their feet because they're moving in front of you and it's like, oh, I'm catching this person really quickly. Well, there's a reason for that. Back off, give them room, don't hurt them. All right? It's just so dangerous. Sounds all grim and dim, doesn't it? It's actually not nearly as dangerous as making it out to be, but they're just things we need to make sure that we're really conscious of. There's more video examples of that, but I'm not going to show you that. We're running a little bit long. Other ones to be careful from is concussions. Helmets do a really good job of stopping us from breaking our skulls, but they don't prevent concussion. They just don't. I don't think there's a helmet made that does a good job of preventing concussions. I don't think it's even possible. So we need to make sure as best we can that we try and avoid hitting our heads on the ice or the boards or anything along those lines. And that's part of that, not chasing people from behind. It's part of skating with your head up and not running into people and knocking them over, because that's where a lot of concussions come from as well. Other injuries too, but concussions in particular, they're a real sleeper. We've got to be really careful of them. The rules are these days, if you have a concussion on the ice and the rink is aware of it, so for example, the game has to stop. The referee has to stop the game for you to get assisted from the ice. You're not allowed back on the ice in that game. If it's a concussion, rules are perhaps not as strict as they should be, but certainly the Australian Sports Commission guideline is 21 days, 3 weeks, before you even think about getting back on the ice. You take it seriously. The long-term effects of concussions is a thing called chronic traumatic encephalitis, or CTE, and it's people in their 50s, that's my age, getting all sorts of psychological issues, anger management problems, depression, suicide, because we've just broken our brains. So if you get a concussion, look after it. Don't just say, oh, got a bit of knock in the head, I'm all right, I'm still seeing stars, but it doesn't matter, I'll be all right. It does matter. So be careful with it. If we know about it, certainly on our squad, we'll sit you for 3 weeks if we know about it. And again, I'm watching every game, so I'll see it if you get a knock on the head. So be really mindful of that. Other things too that you can have, we do get broken bones. You've seen a few reasons for it. There are some reasons for it that are physiological. In a lot of cases, a lot of players come into this sport without having played much in the way of other sports, which is great, and we want you to do that. What it does sometimes mean is that you may not have particularly high bone density. If you haven't done much running or weight training, like squats and deadlifts, that sort of thing, or anything else which involves putting stress on your bones, then they might not be as strong as they might otherwise be, and you can find that they're a little bit more fragile. So you can get broken tibias and tibs and fibs in particular are the ones that tend to go. So we need to be careful with that and continue to work on your skating skills so that you're better skaters. And again, not running into each other, trying to avoid collisions, all that sort of stuff is important. So it's just something to be really mindful of. We can't remove the risk from the game entirely. We do our best, but it is the game that's played fast on an environment which is hazardous. So there is that element of risk which unfortunately we can't eliminate. But if we all look after each other, it's much less likely to be a problem. You're covered by insurance as part of your fees. I don't know the exact details of it, but you can look it up, and there's a link there on the slide which says what the insurance covers. It's not much. I think if you lose a finger, you get $5 or something like that. I don't know. But we all pay it. And it's a single sports cover or something like that. But you can have a look at the details of that insurance coverage, and it's not a bad idea. If you do get an injury and the rink has first aid staff there, which the first aid staff is the ice tech, the person who does the ice cuts is the first aider. Make sure you fill out the injury form. If you don't fill out the injury form, you won't get insurance. If you've got a concussion or you're unconscious, you might not be able to do that. So get someone else to do it for you, but make sure that that's done. Stuff we've already spoken about. Keep your stick on the ice. We know about that now. Stay on your feet. We know that leaving your ice is take care of skating behind someone. Again, we know that. Keep the gate closed when you're getting changes. Open it as quickly as possible. Normally, the rink, like your coaching staff, will do it for you, but sometimes they won't. If you go off and you open up the gate for yourself, make sure you shut it. An open gate's a really, really dangerous thing. I don't know if there was a really good example of a video of that going wrong. So Matty Portra copped one. I haven't got a video for that, unfortunately. Yeah, that's about it for that one. In our context, anyone who does anything deliberately unsafe will be removed from our squad. We'll just kick you out. We don't care. If you do something that's deliberately dangerous, we have zero tolerance for it. So see you later, go do something else. No, that should be Div 10, stay on your feet, we know that one. There's also no slap shots in Div 10 and Div 9, which means you're not allowed to move your stick up above knee height. You're also not allowed to pretend to do a slap shot to intimidate your opponents. You won't be able to do a slapper anyway, so it's usually not worth doing, but you're not allowed to do it. They will enforce the icing rule early. So if you think you're going to race down and beat an icing, the call will be made very early because, again, we know you don't have great breaks. We don't want you slamming into the boards at the end and hurting yourselves. And have fun, right? It's a fun game. It's the most fun you can have standing up. Enjoy it. And we'll do that if we look after each other and play safe. I think that's all I've got. Yep, that's it. Oh. More questions? Now's your chance.
Hey, Carl, just around chirping, what's the policies around that?
In our grade, we would suggest please don't. There are, again, it's about being respectful. In high levels, you may find that some players may well have a bit of a bicker with each other, but there are things that you can kind of do and you can say on the ice that are offensive but not offensive, and then there are things which are like crossing a line, and the line usually revolves around gender and sexuality. All right, so I can swear on the rink and frequently do, usually at myself, but not at someone else. And also certainly don't say anything with regards to sexuality or a gender issue or anything like that on the ice towards someone else as an insult, or even it could be construed as an insult. That will usually see you get banned. So basically don't. Again, remembering that it's a beginner league and everyone playing is a beginner, and there's going to be all sorts of levels of skill and also all sorts of levels of expectation as to the culture of the sport. So we just don't want to see it happen. We want to be good sports and respectful towards each other. Okay. Bit different once you start playing Div 5. We might get a bit chirpy there, but certainly in beginner grades, no, just be nice to each other, regardless of what happens. Anything else? Or are we going to wind it up? Now's your chance. If you do have any follow-up questions, please do feel free to get in touch with me at any time. 3 o'clock in the morning, I probably won't answer my phone, but you can send me messages. I'm very easy to find on Facebook, and also I'm at the rink a lot. I coach on Wednesday nights at the hockey school, as well as being at the rink, obviously, for the Dev Squad games. And if any of you have any questions about this, please feel free to speak to me about them. I will do my absolute best to give you good answers, and if I don't know the answer, we can escalate to the referees. We've got a good relationship with the referees at the rink. Additionally, so that you know, all of the coaches for Div 10 are all on a little group chat, and we discuss issues that occur throughout the season and try and make sure that they're all resolved in a way that everyone's happy with, because things will happen. You're going to get friction. You're going to get people doing stuff that someone else thinks isn't appropriate, and we will do our best to try and manage that as best we possibly can and make sure that everyone comes out of it satisfied with the result. And we want a safe, fun environment. That's what it's all about. Alrighty, we're all done. I'll shut it down. This will be recorded. I'll put the link up on the Facebook group for the adult dev squad. So, and I'll also send the link through to the 2 coaches on the coaching group, so that if you're Griffins or Lights, you can have a look at it as well. And I'll see some of you tomorrow night at hockey school, and the rest of you, we've got our first training session on the 4th if you're a dev squatter, and the rest of you will see on the ice when we play against you. It's going to be a great season. We're really looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Carl.
Carl,
Yeah,
did you say
thank
this
you.
is going to be on YouTube?
Yes.
Amazing. Where do I find it? On the iceHQ YouTube?
No, it'll be on the adult dev squad things.
Adult Dev Squad.
I'll put a link to it in
Yeah.
the Dev Squad Facebook group.
Awesome.
So send the link out through Bench app.
Yeah.
So anyone who's in the Dev Squad should get that one. And in addition, I'll send the link through the group chat to the coaches for the Griffins and the Lights, so they will see that as well, and they can share that with their group
Okay.
the way they choose
Thank you so much. Cheers. This is awesome.
And anyone wants to sit through 90 minutes of this?
That was really helpful. Thank you.
No worries at all. We'll see you all at the rink.
Thanks, Carl.
Have a great
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, thank you.
Where's off on this thing? There it is.